Got here early.
I got here right on time. Welcome, everyone.
Good morning, everybody.
Take
Welcome to Take Action Training.
Julie and Jess here.
Yep, and today we're talking about Pinterest. Pinterest
Exactly.
for business.
And Jess's headline for today is awesome. Pin it to win it.
Woo!
Love it, love it.
So I get paid for this.
Yep. It's pretty awesome. Most days.
Oh, no, man.
You know, all the things. That's what we talk about all the time. There's always, another platform you haven't gotten to. There's things you haven't gotten to. Pinterest may be one of those. We've had many, 45 or 46 TATs already this year. And a lot of them have talked about platforms and setting them up as a funnel. Pinterest is no different. So I do want to say that we have a presence on Pinterest, but it is not our main focus. So we're going to talk about that today, how you can get set up, but the reasons why you might want to be there. So
exactly. And I mentioned this a little bit as people were coming in, but the good news is you don't have to be there all the time. There are some things you can do that count as consistently present. And a little bit goes a long way in terms of keeping eyes on your profile.
Exactly. And Pinterest is just think of it as a huge Google, sort of. It is basically a search engine. It's a little bit different than the others. Facebook being news and fun and whatever. Pinterest is a curation of products and like crafts, and it's really a cool place. So if we're going to talk about whether it's right for your niche or not today, and even if it's not, I would say even if it's not, you should have a presence there because people again check you out when they're looking to do business with you. So having a presence there is only going to help.
For sure. And Savita, I did not say set it and forget it. That's not necessarily a strategy that's going to work, but you can set it and do what you can. And we've been kind of surprised with the number of eyes we've been able to keep on our boards and profile, even though we do very limited activity there.
So. Exactly. And how about this? Set it and automate it.
There you go.
You can automate pins. Just like you automate other things. So like our dashboard does post to Pinterest, it posts to multiple boards, things like that. So after this TAT, I'm going to do another video that shows for the dashboard that it'll just live on our YouTube channel for exactly how to pin and how to make the dashboard work for you. That'll help.
Exactly.
And in the time space we have today, we can't really get into automation other than to say that you can save a lot of time with it. Oh, thank you, Savita.
All right. The resources in the chat.
Yep. Jessica dropped it for you.
So, Julie.
Yes.
What niches is Pinterest good for? Is Pinterest good for you?
All right. So when you're thinking about Pinterest, you're thinking about wellness, home improvement, DIY, crafting, crocheting, knitting. Is Mary Alice here? It's perfect for her. I'd love to know if she already has a presence there. Weddings, event planning, home and garden. There's all types of crafts that you can even do with your home and garden. Authors, coaches, shower and party favors. That's a good one. Information products. So planners, social media, just like what we do, any kind of digital product. It tends to be heavily used for women, but there are more and more men getting on Pinterest. So I would say if you have a diverse niche of clientele, male to female ratio, I still would be there. So because there are a lot more men getting on Pinterest these days.
Exactly.
I've seen hunting boards. I've seen fishing, those kinds of things. So anything hobby related.
Sports, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
And
it's,
sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's a great, curation of stuff that you can kind of get lost in and really enjoy your time on the network.
Exactly. And a pin, it can seem so kind of elusive whenever you hear about Pinterest and you think about, you hear people call themselves, or I do, like Pinterest moms, or like it was a Pinterest worthy party, and things like that. But really, Pinterest is just a visual representation of content that lives elsewhere. So if you go about it kind of that way, whenever you're creating pins or you're thinking about how to put yourself out there, we put the description here. When you blog, if you think about what visually represents what's in your blog and what would give someone a snapshot of that, and then you pin that and it directs them back to your website, that is where the magic of Pinterest really is.
Exactly. And that's why I led with that it's really like a search engine. So it's a curated place for all the things that then you can go back to someone's website to find out more about them. So if Mary Ellis has this beautiful, crocheted koozie, or an article on how like the perfect stitch or whatever, a how-to, those things would bring you or me into her sphere or her website that then might actually buy from her. So she's got physical products, but she could also have courses, how to, whatever. So think about it like that. So just a big search engine and a fun one. Visually
appealing. It is definitely, if I had to rank them in order of funsies, Pinterest would be at the top.
Exactly.
For sure.
Yep, and we're going to talk about the pin it for later option, which is really nice because you can pin to your board if you don't have time to look at it. You can pin and then come back to it. It's almost like the save the video or save the post in Facebook.
For sure. So think about the traffic that you can create literally around anything. So we listed a few here. Sorry, I didn't put Pet Magazine in there, Ron. But these pins can go back to anything. And just like, we've talked a lot about the 80-20 rule and your approach to marketing in general on every platform, Pinterest is going to be the same way, but maybe even to more of an extent. The more your pin looks like an ad, the more it's going to get ignored. So you really want to think about how to lead with the content of what you're offering and not necessarily just the products on most of your pins. Of course, there is a time and a place for I sell this thing, click here to go get more info. Those are always have a place in your marketing mix. But Pinterest, more than anything else, it's about what would someone save? What would someone want to go back and look at?
Exactly. And the ultimate goal is to get them to your website for sure. So, and again, we've kind of, talked about, the fact that you can advertise anything or create content around, products, services, online courses, books, programs, cookbooks, crafts, anything under the sun really has a place. And pets. So like for Ron, pets, man, that's such a great niche because you've got male and female, and people are overboard for their fur babies today. So that's this would be a super site, to get traffic for in the pet industry for sure.
I like Ron's question, so I'm going to take it real quick. What should be the ratio between content and offers? So we call it the 80-20 rule, which that would be 4-1, right? So, but 5-1 is okay too. And it's really just about the way you sell too, which we've talked about extensively in previous TATs. You have to always go about what's in it for them. What is your pet magazine going to offer someone who buys it over just, here's my awesome magazine, I worked really hard on it, go buy it. So the nuances there are important as well, but those are good ratios, 4-1, 5-1 for sure.
Exactly. And if you think about it and you take small tips out of an article that you can make pins from, that creates curiosity, then we can get them back to your site and get them into your magazine. So, and then same with just straight up visualizations of the magazine are fine. And that would be more like the product base or the offer.
Exactly. And the example Julie just gave, that would be part of your 4. You know, you're pulling the tips out of your magazine and you're providing value. That's part of your 4. That 1 is the hard pitch, you know, like, hey, on sale now, buy my magazine. So keeping that in mind, because we don't want you to feel discouraged, like, well, what can I post? So tips are definitely tips, value, anything that is going to serve your ideal client goes in that 4. I just wanted to put that out there because I know sometimes people feel like, well, what can I post? That isn't salesy.
Exactly. And, you know, it is one of the networks that has a good many offers to it. So if you needed to push the envelope, you can always test and see what your market does. So you can push it.
So what's the purpose of all of this? This is so important. We have talked about this before. Like this is the most important thing that you need to be striving to do with the leads that you create on any social media platform. And that is to pull them off of social media. If that sounds counterintuitive to you, if that's the first time you're ever coming into contact with that notion, then go back and watch some previous TATs, get on our YouTube channel, and you can really understand why. And the reason why is because you do not own anything on social media. It's not guaranteed. If you create a livelihood that only lives on social media, when and if that social media platform disappears, your livelihood is gone. So all of our strategy that we talk about goes toward pulling people onto your website, onto your list, where you have a lot more control over the longevity of your audience.
Exactly. And we talk about the algorithm all the time. So even if the network didn't disappear, let's say something, you know, catastrophic doesn't happen, but the algorithm is forever changing. And if you are killing it right now, and then all of a sudden there's an algorithm change, it can hinder your business tremendously. So pulling people off, thinking of this as a funnel, reverse engineering what you're trying to get them to do. You know, we've had previous TATs for a freebie. You know, if you're pulling them from a tip that leads to your blog, on the blog page, you want to have a way for them to get into your funnel, to get your freebie, to get on your list. That's exactly how this works.
Do you want, I mean, that was perfect. Do you want to show them the example that you were talking about?
Sure.
Do you have it pulled up or should I? I don't think you do.
I don't, but hold on. Can you still see my screen?
I can see your screen.
It's white.
Okay, so we want to show you an example of what Julie just said. Like we mentioned, we're not great. We're great at Pinterest. We do Pinterest for other people, but we're not great at prioritizing our time in the current moment. However, the efforts that we've done, the small efforts that we have put into Pinterest, they do pay off daily. So we want to show you how to replicate that. This is
exactly.
Our blog.
So this is just our blog. So you'll see that, you know, here we go. So I'm going to show you this because I know this one, they all have some sort of way to capture, but you know, what to post on social media in December. So if you've been with us anytime, you know, we put this little free planner out with posts every single month. So this is the free, we're talking about what they get. Okay. So it's a regular blog style. If they click this, it actually will take them to sign up for it. But here is the pin. So this is the pin that actually is on Pinterest. I probably could pull it up in a second too, but we have a little snippet of code as well. So let's say that someone didn't come from Pinterest, but they find our blog and they want to pin this for later. So I've got the little pin, and this is just a piece of code. This is a little extra for you today because Jessica's not knowing I'm going to be talking about this, but you can decide where you want to pin this to and pin it right to Pinterest. Okay. So a pin in Pinterest is you can pin the same thing over and over and over. It's not a one and done type piece of content like like Facebook and Instagram. So this being here is awesome. But we do have ours. We actually a little overzealous. We have a couple of things, join us in our Facebook group, grab the whole toolbox, and then also up here, the actual free calendar. So we have 3 opt-ins on ours. I don't necessarily suggest that for everyone or to feel like you're coming in short if you don't have. One great opt-in is all you really need. Okay. You run the risk of confusing people if you have more than that. All right. So
let's go back to the resource.
Yeah. So, and I'll just show you really quick. We could have had a button here too, but if you click this, it does take you straight to our opt-in, where now we're pulling them onto our email list. Okay. Which we can control for the most part. Obviously we can't control whether you open or not. We can, we've had talks on email marketing all the time and ways to get better open rates, but to get them on there, that's the goal.
Gotcha.
And then there's a beautiful pen. So I just want to talk about that really quick too, that a pen should be visually interesting and it should sort of tell a story. You're trying to get them to act on it. Okay. So, we're saying, hey, here's your post. This is representation of what it looks like. They're December posts. So I've got a little background here. And then free download. That says exactly, hey, click it and then you can get it. And that it looks the exact same on Pinterest. And then they can click it on Pinterest and it will take them, to the blog that then takes them here.
Awesome. Go team. All right. So Paulette wants to know, what about the focus on fresh pens? There's always something new.
There is rich pens, fresh pens. So rich, let me say rich pens first. This is a little piece of code that it's a type of pen. Fresh pens, you are talking about keeping them and continually. There are programs, automation, like the dashboard. Tailwind is a competitor, but they are super Instagram and Pinterest based. So it sets you up to be able to really set up a pen strategy that if you are looking into, having a heavy pen strategy, that will really help you. So I don't know that we'll ever do a video on it, but it's really a good program.
And so, Sonia, that was not necessarily what we were suggesting, that you post the same piece of content over and over and over, but you can pin the same pin to multiple different boards. Of course, as content creator, which is what you are, you're a creator, not a consumer. When you're trying to build an audience on Pinterest, you do want to have fresh, or you do want new content posting relatively regularly. You're not just going to create one good pin and pin it over and over and over for months.
Right. And as long as you've got new content in the mix, because you got to think about what the user is going to see when they go to the board. So if you've got, 20 posts, then yes, repin. So repinning is a strategy to bring them back to the top, bring them fresh on the board. Again, Pinterest is a little bit different in that aspect. So as people, you only have so much time to capture them. So if you've got really good pins that you've spent a ton of time on, you can repin them. Like we would talk about repurposing them for whatever, but you don't even have to repurpose them this one. Just repin to get them back to the top. But again, you need to have good new content mixed in when you're doing that.
All right. Ready to move on? And we'll take Michelle's question in just a minute.
Okay.
We're probably going to get to it here shortly. So how do you get more views and engagement? Just like when you start on other platforms, a little research can go a long way. So you're going to want to look at the trends. You're going to want to see what comes up for keywords. And you're going to want to do a little recon.
That's what I was going to say.
On who's in your, on the people who are in your niche who are already successful and influencers there, just like you would with Instagram, just like you would with Facebook. What kind of content are they putting out that has the most repins and has the most views and has the most, engagement? That's going to be the place that you start.
Exactly. And you'll be able to see when you visit, you can see the kind of traction that they've got on certain pins. So 30 minutes recon goes a long way. So you're going to want to look at competitors. You're going to want to look at people that, huge players in your market, huge, that would share the same clientele or the same viewers. So see what they're doing. They have huge budgets, but that's not to say that you can't replicate the same thing on your free or no budget.
Exactly. All right. So growing your audience with pins, we've been talking about this a little bit. But, first and foremost, if you have a blog or if you have a place where people, maybe you don't have a blog, but where people can consume content that you put out, create a graphic that speaks to that. And these don't need to have like dollar signs on them. They don't need to be super overproduced. Usually the simpler you can make it, the more visually appealing you can make it, the better. And then you'll have that direct to where people can learn more about the content that you're summarizing in that graphic.
Exactly. Sorry, I'm going to try to pull up for later. I'm trying to pull up Pinterest, so you're going to have to take my next step.
Oh, that's fine. So you also want to kind of create visual pins that are attractive to your ideal audience. Obviously, this one is kind of a duh. Like you don't want to create one that if you are a stay-at-home mom who delves in DIY decoration, or DIY, let's go stay-at-home mom who expertise is, DIY parties or discount parties for your kiddos. Obviously, your pins need to speak to that ideal audience and not someone who's deer hunting, or game hunting. You always want to kind of stay in your lane and think about what's going to speak to them.
Exactly. So when we were talking about recon really quick, I'm going to share my screen. Oh, am I still sharing?
You are, but that's not what everyone's seeing. Just
click
this little third tab. Now we should be able to see it.
Oh, I don't see it. Oh, well, we'll do it at the end. It's fine.
It's coming up. I see it.
Oh, all right. Here we go. So Pinterest, I just wanted to show you, as you're doing your recon, so you're going to be looking, and Canva, we talk about Canva all the time. So, this is, 39 lists for truly being organized. Okay. So that's something, organizing, decluttering, all those things. I don't know if Sarah's here, but, think about the types of content that you can build around that. As you're doing your recon, it's going to help you to not only create the pin, but you have to have something behind the pin most of the time, unless it's just a tip, because you can do tip type posts here. But, you're thinking about what's going to compel someone to be like, here is a product type post. But again, it's going back to a blog, 20 ways to wear leather leggings with your outfit. Okay. So very product oriented. But then you'll also see regular, just, quote type posts sprinkled in as well. So when you're just looking, start with your home feed and then come back and go to competitors and start building an idea bank, because it is a little bit different than the other niches. So here you'll see, this is us. This is a like straight up, product post. All right. So that's all I wanted to share, is that you can really find some great inspiration for content when you get in here. So like these lists, that would make me want to read on that, I think. 120 killer social media ideas, okay? 120, that's a lot.
That is a lot.
All right, back to you, Jess. I just wanted to show like the diversity, and then you can see when there's a product base that comes out, in your feed. So that 80-20 rule, you can see that people are sort of adhering to that.
Gotcha. So growing your email list, we talked about this too. Yes, 80-20 rule, but you do want a pin for each of your opt-ins. And the way you do that, it can be part of the 80 if you do it correctly, or it can feel like part of the 20% if you decide to go more hard sell about it. But if your opt-in will be your freebie, which is a value add. So that should lead with the value and how that opt-in or how that freebie serves them.
And mix it up. Try it. See which gets the best, traction there. You're going to be able to see the stats. So
yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. Sorry. She beat me to it. It's fine. Go ahead.
I did. See how well this works? Again, most networks are the same. You have this same base strategy. Put out great content. Look to see what's working. Okay. So analytics. Pinterest has tons of great analytics. You can tell, how many outbound clicks. You can tell how many pins, repins, all of the things. So take note of what's working and do more of it.
For sure. Keep your pins lean, clean, and simple. How many overthinkers in Canva, if it's taking you an hour and a half to create one Pinterest pin, you're overdoing it. You're spending too much time on the design elements. You want an attractive graphic, mostly a photo, or Pinterest is a great place for graphics, which Canva has some great templates to start from. But you just don't over engineer these, because people are not going to spend forever deciding whether or not they're going to read it. So you want it to be simple and clean and straightforward as to what you're offering.
Exactly. And this network is sort of a more is more type network. So the longer you're on it, the more pins you have, because when people get pulled to a board of yours, they can spend a lot of time on that board. Whereas Twitter, the lifespan of a tweet's 24 seconds. I think the lifespan of Pinterest is like 3 months or so. It's like a long time that they're relevant. So again, repinning comes into that strategy, but when you're making content from Pinterest, it's going to last. It's a great investment of your time if your market is living here. Let me see. I lost my place. It's like micro for me.
I know it is small.
Yeah, we talked about analytics, but I think that we were above. Oh, invite. So just like inviting people to share on other networks, you can invite people to repin. So we talk about having business besties, whatever. So if you need to get some traction going on your page, boards, then you can have, get a group of people like here in Socially Inclined. You could all have a little strategy to go in and help each other out by pinning if they're pertinent. Okay. So pinning has to be related to the board that you have set up. Okay. So for Savita, she's in finance. So it wouldn't necessarily that Mary Alice wouldn't be pinning a finance post because she's going to have crochet boards. Okay. Same with Sarah, but there is some overlap in these. So if you can ask people to start pinning, that would be great. And we did
knowledge. Knowledge is power. So know your most popular pins, what worked, what didn't. Don't get bent out of shape. If a pin you thought was perfect didn't go off like you thought, it might have just needed to be presented a little differently. So
exactly.
When you know your most
repin it and ask some other people to repin it and see if it can get some traction. That's what's so different about this platform.
Exactly. Share your most popular pins. This is where we talk about repinning, the ones that were successful. When they get down a little bit on your board, then you can repin it and then repin it to other boards that are relevant. Yeah, you take that last one. I think that last one. Go ahead.
Let's see.
It is small. Sorry.
I know. Sorry. All right. So we're going to talk about in a few minutes, like your boards and coming up with boards. But once you come up with those boards, you're going to want to keep everything clean and organized. So again, it is a visual space. So you want your pins to look nice. You want your boards to be highly organized as well. So you don't have to overthink this. You don't have to do like the grid like you do on Instagram, but everything does need to have sort of that same look and feel, and they need to be organized correctly. So, and pinned correctly in your own boards, because that's what you're pulling them to a board, let's say an organization board. Okay. So everything in that board should be talking about organization. If you have a product that complements that, yes, those should live there. Okay. So again, when you're thinking about your boards, you're thinking about what are huge categories that will support what you do for a living, what you sell, what service you sell or product you sell.
Exactly. So, Julie, would you have more than one Pinterest account? For example, this is Ron's question. One for his magazine and one for his e-commerce store. I know my answer, but I want the the super pro to go first.
I don't remember if his store is pet related. If the audience is the same, I most likely would have them together, because you can capitalize on the same audience, and you're having less friction, less time to create, whatever, if the crossover is there, and the businesses are branded together. So if you've got the magazine that supports your e-commerce business, yes, I would have them together. If they are more separated, then you can just know that you're going to have sort of twice the work. And today, time is money, and we want to try to manage. You also could start off with one and then spin off the other one once you got the business, the traffic growing on it. I just don't remember what your e-commerce, if they're pet products. I want to feel like they're pet products, but I don't know this for certain.
I think he said yes, it is.
Okay.
All right. So we already talked about this a little bit because there was a nice segue on the previous page. How to organize your Pinterest boards to get the most bang for your board.
Exactly. All right. So you're going to have popular pins. Once you get going, you're going to see, okay, you're going to get traction. So you want to keep those at the top. So that's the time to repin. So, all right. So because when people are coming to the boards, they want to see your best content first. As they're scrolling, you're again trying to pull them off the network to come to your website to then get on your list. Okay. So it seems very convoluted that you're trying to pull them off and, act on several different things, but it is totally possible.
For sure. All right. The next thing is kind of like being an early influencer, which of course those opportunities are gone for Pinterest because it's been around for so long. However, just like we were talking about in September, get ahead of the season, get ahead of the feeling that your ideal clients are going to have. So now is the time to be gearing up. If you're in fitness or wellness, now is the time to be gearing up for that flood of January resolutions. If you're in business coaching, now is the time to be gearing up for, starting 2022 with a lot of momentum and those kind of things. So you want to think about what your consumers' needs are going to be a few weeks from now, maybe even a few months if it's big enough, instead of being so reactive to it.
Exactly. You're also going to want to look for trends that are happening in your industry and Pinterest itself. If you can get ahead or be a person that is, coming out with it, you're going to create that, influencer type board when you are ahead of the trend. And hashtags work. I don't know. Yep. We're about to get to that segue. We're not done. But when you're thinking about that, people start searching for hashtags. Okay. When the trend happens or when the season happens. So if you can be ahead of that and already have the content ready, so that's why you need to be on trend. You're going to get a lot more traction than someone that is being reactive. So you want to be proactive with your pinning strategy.
All right. And don't be afraid to pin other people's stuff, especially if it's relevant. There's enough bread to go around.
Exactly. I mean, in this one, that is a big deal with Pinterest, is to pin other things to your boards that are complementary that people would find helpful. Yes, I understand that you could be sending people away from your board to their website or whatever, but when they're coming to Pinterest to consume a lot of the same content, you're making headway in their minds, taking note as to this is a great board, so they can save the board, whatever.
It's just like, so we did a whole training on curated content in a previous TAT training. It's the same thing. It makes you look like an amazing person, someone who is on top of their niche and an expert. So when you are doing well enough to where, you're finding other people's great stuff, that just really looks good for you on your Pinterest boards. You want to have a few boards. I'm not sure if we talked about it, but if you're a baby business, 3 boards is probably a great place to start that are all complementary to what you do and sell. And the other thing I'm not sure that we put on here is just like, if you're not doing Pinterest at all, still set up your Pinterest profile, have it be a business account that sends them to your website with the bio and all of that. We're not talking about that specifically on here because it's so straightforward on Pinterest. Don't leave anything blank. Don't lose those opportunities. But do have at least 7 pins on each of your boards before you bail on doing anything else on Pinterest, because that is going to help people feel like you're not a bot or a spammer.
Right.
Because you're not,
and
right?
These do show up in Google. We talked about Pinterest itself being a search engine, so people can look, in search. So you might have, we're going to talk about hashtags in just a second, but you might have something that's got the perfect hashtag, even though you did it 6 months ago and you got your 7 pins, in each board. Somebody can still find that content via a hashtag or even via Google and come into your sphere. So the longevity of Pinterest is amazing. So I'm going to use that too as a segue into hashtags. So in your pins, 2 is pretty much a max on these, but you want them to be really specific. You don't so we're in social media. We wouldn't do social media. So they need to be a little more long tail keywords or long tail hashtags, as we would say. And again, trending ones are amazing as well. So because you want to capitalize on what's going on in the market right now. So you really want to think out a hashtag strategy. We haven't said this either in this, I don't think, but batching for Pinterest is really good. Batching and coming up with your hashtag strategy will save you a ton of time, especially if you're going to put 2 on every pin. Then you're going to think about getting ahead of that and having just a bank to make you save time. Same with creating pins. You can, a way to batch, sorry, I'm getting off track here, but I want to say this, but a way to batch is to go to Canva, create 12 pin designs that you like. And then when it comes time to do it, let's say you want to do a month of pins, you want to do 4, then you go in and you've got it and you're already ahead of the game. All right. And a specific, let's see, viewers can search for content using hashtags, specific categories, for example, gluten-free and recipes. So I want to say that, again, you're getting into, when it comes to hashtags, you're getting into the minds of your users. What are they searching for? How are they going to find you? So hashtag strategy is a big deal in Pinterest. So spend a little bit of your recon time on hashtags.
Perfect. Loved it. No, that's okay. But it's also a lot simpler than hashtag strategy when it comes to Instagram. What is that pin about? What would someone put in a hashtag and be glad that they found that pin? Like, oh yeah, that's what I needed. So that's why I put gluten-free recipes here. If it's a gluten-free recipe, then somebody who maybe they have celiac and they are desperate to find something, they will be so happy to find this recipe. And you can even go more specific than that. If it's a gluten-free holiday recipe, or if it's something that's gluten-free and it's kind of surprising that it's gluten-free, like fluffy pizza dough gluten-free recipe or something like that. That is very specific, but I'm telling you, if you're one of those people who misses fluffy pizza dough but you're gluten-free, you might search something like that. So you want to keep that in mind.
And imagine if you had a whole board on those, and someone was searching for one and then they found a whole board of your content mixed with other people's content, and how happy they would be to have found you.
For sure. So analytics on Pinterest, they're right front and center in the Business Hub whenever you log in to Pinterest. And just as we've already mentioned a little bit, checking your analytics on Pinterest is just what is knowledge is power, and what you measure, you can grow. So, these analytics will help you see your demographics, who's clicking through, where they're from, all of that good, valuable information.
Exactly. And when you have a business account and you first log in, that's where it sends you. So it's, and it has the nice little green representation of that you're doing well, or a black one that, hey, you're slipping some. So it's time to pin. All right. So, but those things are good. You want to know where you stand, because if you do have, 30 minutes to work on it once a month, imagine what you can do. I mean, there are small companies that have, 225,000 views a month, and that can be a game changer and really make a difference to their sales, to their bottom line. So I would suggest for sure, we've already talked about it, get your profile, get it all set up, ready to go, and have some content on it. But then try to carve out a monthly or weekly strategy to work a little bit on it every week and see what a difference it can make in your business.
Yeah. And if you can't afford to do more, afford time-wise in this situation, we've seen success, or at least continued momentum with one pin a week.
Yeah.
So 1 pin a week, just being there regularly. What you don't want is for someone to come and see that, you haven't been on for years. So
right. And we
always want to take a look back.
Yeah. We had a whole TAT on content repurposing. So, if you have a website and you have content, you can pull and use that repurposing strategy to make your pins to send back. There's no reason why you can't, if you have 4 blogs on your website, let's say you just have 4, but you can have 30 pins going to your 4 blogs. You can have 100 pins going to your 4 blogs. So you don't have to have a ton of content to make Pinterest work for you.
Right. All right. So I have a few questions that I would like to take before we just do this. Like, let's put it all together. Greg wants to know I didn't mean to laugh. I'm sorry. I love this question because my answer is it's not too dark for Pinterest. So his business deals with helping people at a not so happy time. He deals with the end of life planning and grief support. Is that too dark for Pinterest? I would say no, not at all. In fact, if you think about someone who's grieving, they probably are going to go to Pinterest over, say, Twitter, or even Instagram, and they would be looking for how to overcome loss, how to, how to get through the grief process. I could see some very helpful infographics about the grieving process. And then, a board specifically about end of life planning. It may not be the most popular board in the world, but the people who are looking for it will think, oh, thank goodness for Greg's business name for having this board and this resource here for me.
Right. Because it's all pulled together and they're getting, everything that they need, hopefully in one place once they've found you. And again, those hashtags and searchability are going to help get them there. So definitely, you're looking at, end of life planning. You're talking about people that are 50-ish, whatever, ideally women. And that's, Pinterest, that's who's there. So you're going to want to pull them from other places on Pinterest.
Perfect. If you have any follow-ups to that, let us know, Greg. Nan? Yeah, it's got to be Nan. It's not Non. I'm hungry. Sorry. Did you give a few pieces of advice on what to put in the biz bio during setup? We didn't address that specifically, but that's because you've already done Instagram with us. You've done your Facebook bio. You've done your LinkedIn bio. You take those 3 and you will come up with something equally as great for the biz bio, which is also quite short on Pinterest.
Exactly. Just a little short. So I just dropped the link to the Take Action. So we've done 45 of these this year. There's going to be 50 total. You can get the replays. They're still only $99. So if you liked this today and you're new, there's a bunch of them you have missed. But quick, the formula for your bio is who you help and what you do, what you solve for them. You solve their pain. And if you can get a little emoji, I think pretty sure emojis work on Pinterest in your bio. So work a little emojis in there, because as they see it, it grabs their attention to actually read it. So there's nothing better than being able to say what you do for people in a very concise way. And that's what your bio should be, to know they're in the right spot.
I think we got all the questions. Michelle wanted to know how many pins we suggest you pin daily. You got all the time in the world, then knock yourself out. But I would say 2 or 3 a week is great. If you could manage one a day, you're killing it. But like I said, we've done pretty well with just 1 a week.
All right. And that's of your own content. So you also can pin other people's content, which is very fast. So you can go and build a board based on other people's content quickly, and then it'll help you to fill in with your own content. So the short answer, as much as you can do in that time frame that you can devote to it. Again, this is a platform that can help you grow tremendously, especially because the life of a pin is so long. So if you can devote some time to it, watch your analytics, watch your bottom line, and see if you can attribute sales to it, do a whole lot more of it if it is helping the bottom line. If it's not, then you can divert resources into another area. But we all have a finite amount of time. It's just how we choose to spend it, especially when it's on social. All right. So if you know, we've come to the take action part of this that we always have. So this is the let's pull it all together and what you need to do. So the main thing is to fill out your bio. I don't think it's on here like this, but you want to fill out your bio as much as possible to attract as many people, tell them exactly what you do. Then you're going to look at, if you have a website with a blog on it, you're going to go to your stats, go to Google Analytics, go to your website stats, whatever you have, and see if you can find your 5 most popular blog posts on your site. From there, you're going to want to create content around those. Like I said earlier about your 4 blogs, you can have a bunch of pins coming to those 4 blogs.
Exactly. And then you can take a look at what you've done. If the stuff you've done in the past, maybe it wasn't thinking about really attractive things for Pinterest. You can easily go back and swap some of those out so that they do become a little bit more pin worthy.
Yes. So you can add, to follow up to that, you can add on your blog posts. So you find your 5, then you make pins that live on the blog post that then can be pinned from there. You can pin it yourself, obviously, to bring it back, but other people that come to your blog can actually pin it themselves.
For sure. All right. And if you're one of the newbies, then like I mentioned earlier, at least 3 boards. It just gives you that nice diversification that are going to kind of be around your topic. What 3 boards could you create on Pinterest? And these are more broad, because what you'll do eventually, as you kind of create a little momentum, or once you feel like you're good with those, you'll want to kind of hone in on something more specific. So maybe your first 3, if you're in fitness and wellness, it would be like body weight exercises or fitness apparel or healthified recipes. And then maybe you narrow that down to dinner ideas for busy moms. Yeah. Or gluten-free if that's your niched, if that's how you're niching yourself.
Exactly. So broad, and then niche it down some. So, all right, look at the most pinned images in your niche. What do these pictures have in common? So we talked about that in the recon. So we need you to go and do some recon. Okay. So you're going to find competitors. You're going to specifically look at what it is that they're pinning. How are their posts interesting? So we're great at design. So Jessica and I am. All right. So, but we hear from other people that do not love it. So again, you can start from Canva. Once you find what you think is working by doing your recon, you can go to Canva and you can type in the search in templates, Pinterest pin or pin, and you'll find a whole bunch of starting points there. So there's no excuse for an ugly pin, really. So when you can use Canva.
Exactly. And finally, on the recon side of things, look at those who are already successful and they have some really viral pins, and think about how you could replicate this for you specifically. Not copy, but how could you replicate something like this for your voice and your specific message?
Perfect. All right. And there's one last thing that we didn't talk about, and that was if you get moving through this and you see that you are having tons of traction and you can tell that your bottom line is working, this, like every other platform, has ads. So you can promote your pins. You can promote right on Pinterest. So if it's working for you, as a free service, imagine how well it would if you're promoted those pins. So you think about that after you've gotten started with it.
For sure. I left that out because you
I
can't
know,
give it
it's
all away in a
advanced.
free training.
Well, we don't tell them how. So,
Yeah.
but
We can do it for you, though. So.
Yeah, exactly. So, and we have promoted pins, and it's quite nice. So
It has a totally different feel from Facebook ads.
it does. Even though the audience is somewhat similar, the how they act when they get there is completely different. So, all right. So it's take action for the week. We want to see at least you make over what you have or get started with what's there.
For sure. I would be really interested in seeing Greg's. I think it's a very delicate topic, but it would be, I love a challenge. Julie will be the first to tell you when we get these hard clients. We're like, I was trying to think of something off the cuff without like giving away private information, but I just love it whenever it's not like a straightforward, how am I going to do this kind of.
Right. The outside the
endeavor.
box thinking that,
Yeah.
and again, all you're doing when you're thinking about this strategy is thinking about your ideal client and what they're doing, sitting on their couch, scrolling through their phone. How can you reach them?
Yep.
So what are they searching for? That's the starting point. And then, the end point is you've got to have a freebie or some way to get them on your email list. It could be a discount. You don't have to have a freebie, but it can be a discount to a product. It can be a newsletter, whatever, but that's the end goal.
I would say, though, in Greg's topic area, that's not necessarily the case.
Oh, yeah, because they're not.
When people need and are ready to, and they need to buy, then they buy based off of who they feel trust for. So
having that
very interesting.
Yeah, having that supporting content that's building know, like, and trust. Because not everybody's in a position to buy right this moment, for sure. So you've got to warm them up.
All right. That was great. I love Pinterest. I want to have more hours in the day to do more with it. So
I do too. So we are super glad that y'all were able to join us this week.
Join us.
We only have Thursday for office hours, and we only have a few more of these take actions. We will be doing something different next year, same but different. So you'll have to stay tuned for that. Hopefully you have gotten value and can grow, especially add to the bottom line. All right. Well, we will see y'all Thursday
for coffee and questions. Bring your best struggles.
Same
Greg,
time.
if you need more ideas, Thursday is where you get our like brain dump and imagination if you show up with us.
Yeah. So we can give good ideas then.
We came up with taglines last week. It's great.
Man, and I saw Chaos Coordinator in my feed like right after that. Not from her either. So
I know.
For something.
I know. I love
Cool.
that. I love that term.
Yep.
So, all right. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.